So while we are patiently awaiting Nintendo to reveal the official pricing around Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, we have some brand new information that just dropped around the controllers that are set to launch with this service, and I want to share that with you guys today. And then the other thing we have to talk about is the overall speculation around what can we expect this pricing tier to actually come in at dollar-wise, and when will we see the official announcement from Nintendo. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, we have a couple different topics to cover today, the first of which is brand new information around the controllers that we know are set to launch with the Nintendo Switch Online Service expansion pack that we are still awaiting more information on as far as pricing, and we will talk about that in the back half of the video. But the first thing I want to do is hop over to VGC, where they do a good job showcasing some brand new images of these controllers and breaking down kind of what we can expect as far as the button layout for things like the N64 controller and the Sega Genesis controller. So I first want to quickly read through the article so we're on the same page with everything we know about these controllers while we're leading up to the big release. Switch's N64 controller has extra buttons. Promo image reveals more details on the Switch Online controller. Nintendo's wireless N64 controller for Nintendo Switch will have extra buttons, a new image of the peripheral has revealed. As shared by Twitter user Nintendeal, the new promo image reveals the classic controller revision ZR, home, and share buttons on the top of the device. The new controller also supports a USB-C port for charging and a sync button, along with 4 LED lights indicating the user's player number. Nintendo has yet to show the rear of the N64 controller, so it's not clear whether the controller's expansion port will be covered up or usable. Earlier this week, an FCC filing suggested the former. It's possible that the ZL button could be hidden on the rear of the controller since it's not visible on the top, and that would be awkward to reach when holding the controller's central analog stick. It's not clear if the N64 controller will support force feedback without the requirement of a separate rumble pack. A Mega Drive/Genesis controller planned to launch alongside the platform's own Switch Online introduction also has similar button additions. Previous controllers re-released for the Switch Online based on the NES and SNES also had new buttons added, such as L and R for NES and ZL and ZR for SNES. So to start off with that new information, it's not super surprising that Nintendo chose to add in these additional buttons, as that's, one of the things that I will really commend Nintendo on this generation, because if you guys didn't play through the Wii, Wii U, and all of the previous console generations, you were pretty much locked in with whatever first-party Nintendo controllers were sold to you, and you did have your third-party peripherals out there and available, but it was very strict on how you could play different games, like such as the Wii is a perfect example with the Virtual Console. If I wanted to go in and play a Virtual Console game, I really had to have that classic controller that plugged into the Wiimote, and there was no real easy way to do a different controller configuration, even though the system had USB ports. The Nintendo Switch, on the other hand, essentially allows you to play their full library of games that are available to you with essentially any controller that can sync up to the Nintendo Switch, with your one-off exceptions like Super Mario Party that's required to play with Joy-Cons. For the most part, you get to play how you want on the Switch, and even if you have some crazy off-brand USB controller, you can simply plug it into the dock and map the buttons the way you want for the game that you want. And I just think that that is a fantastic thing to see Nintendo continue to focus on this generation. And obviously the one call out that I would say from this new image around the N64 controller is the fact that the ZR button is definitely in an awkward spot. You can definitely still hit it, but this might cause some problems if you want to use this on certain type of games that are heavy on the ZR button, as I just don't see it being that comfortable to reach. Then you also have, of course, the discussion about where is the ZL button, and I would say that's about a 99% safe bet to say that that is the trigger that is underneath the analog on the back of the controller, but we do still have to, wait for additional images and hands-on to actually confirm that. And then the big talking point too is we do not know if this controller is going to support rumble feedback in any way, shape, or form. I could see Nintendo doing something like actually keeping the port on the back of the controller to where you could buy an expansion rumble pack if you really wanted to, just like the old days, but I don't know that, and that's just speculation. They could easily have that port kind of closed off too. It looks to me like from the images that it has a little cutout area, exactly how the original N64, but we really can't say for sure until we actually get an image of the back of the controller. Now, the one talking point that I also want to bring up around this N64 controller is it is honestly a steep price. I do hope that we do get rumble supported out of the gate, because this is $49.99. And while, you know, I'm gonna pay it and I do have nostalgia for the N64 controller, you still only have one analog on this thing, and the reality is you're going to be using this primarily for those N64 style games, as I don't see this controller button layout working near as well as a lot of other controllers would have, you know, alongside Nintendo's overall history. Like, you can use the GameCube with just about anything and feel pretty comfortable as far as the GameCube controller's layout, but this N64 layout is really a kind of unique one, and one that if you need a right analog for anything, it's going to be a miss. Now, I can get past the $49.99 price point on the Nintendo 64 and justify it, as I cannot wait to play Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask with that classic controller wirelessly on an HD TV. Like, it is a crazy time that we are living in, and not to mention the fact that we're going to get like F-Zero X online at some point that you can play and race against friends with a classic N64 controller, and Star Fox 64, so I'm definitely pumped about all that stuff. But you do have to look at that $49.99 price tag rather, and then, you know, if that seems like a lot for the N64 controller, you must really have some nostalgia for the Sega Genesis if you're going to pay $49.99 for a 3-button controller that you will essentially only be able to use on the Genesis. Now, we did get a similar type of image release on the Sega Genesis controller as well, and it does appear that it has those same buttons actually supported on the controller, at least as far as a home and share button. And then it looks like there's something in the top right corner that is called mode, so I will be interested to see what all that does. But you know, you have no analogs on the Sega Genesis controller. Obviously, you have a 3-button configuration that is not going to be compatible with a significant amount of games. I mean, really, maybe you can play some SNES games with it, but anything further forward than that, you are definitely going to run into problems as far as controller mapping. So, you know, I have nostalgia for the Sega Genesis controller. It's also not one that like I have to play on. Like, if I'm going to play Sonic, I could really plug in a GameCube controller and enjoy that game just as much. So I don't know that I will for sure pick up the Genesis controller, maybe to have as a collector's item, but I do think that that $49.99 is a steep price to ask for it. And then you also have to have the conversation that these controllers are only going to be available from Nintendo directly, and we will not see them sold in retail, such as like Walmarts and Targets and all of that. So, you know, you're going to have some difficulty actually securing these pre-orders when they go live. And, you know, I don't know what kind of continued stock Nintendo will, you know, put out over the course of time, but we normally see obviously a ton of demand when the pre-order links first go out. Then you'll have probably some day one launch stock as well on their store. And then from there, it's anybody's guess on how hard it's going to be to find these controllers. But I do want to give you guys that warning. If you really are hyped for these classic controllers to be released, you know, keep your eyes and ears open on Twitter. Follow some of the retail accounts such as Wario64 that tweets out like all these new retail links that go live. The notifications will probably drive you crazy on your phone, but it is something that you essentially have to do if you were trying to get a first batch of pre-orders on a new product such as the N64 controller or Sega Genesis controller. And now that we have that official information around these controllers and the new images that have surfaced online, I want to quickly pivot the conversation to when can we expect Nintendo to unveil the official pricing for this new expansion pack, and also what might this pricing tier be? And is it one tier? I think it is for now, but do we continue to see them, you know, push this forward and bring in new consoles as we go forward? Well, that's a larger conversation we'll probably save for a future video, but I do at least want to tackle the fact that we are right around the corner. As we know, October is the month that it's going to drop. We don't really know when Nintendo's going to come out and officially say it, but I do want to pose a question to you guys on what are you comfortable paying for this service? Because to quickly break everything down for you that we're getting out of the gate with Nintendo Switch Online, we get the following N64 games at launch, and then we do know some expected ones that are going to be around the corner that will be added in as time goes on. But to start off at initial launch of the service, we get Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Win Back, Mario Tennis, Star Fox 64, Yoshi's Story, Dr. Mario 64, and Sin and Punishment, all as launch titles for the Nintendo 64. We are then promised the following support for the future titles that will be added in at a later date, with the following: Banjo-Kazooie, Paper Mario, Pokemon Snap, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Mario Golf, and F-Zero X. Then to quickly look at the Genesis library that you also get, and there's also some discussion online the fact that many of these games are already playable on the Switch because there is a Sega Genesis collection Switch cartridge that you can go pick up with over 50 games on it. But there is also a lot of rumor mill and speculation talk around the fact that Nintendo may be planning to add far more Sega Genesis games than even what is on that collection pack. And I do think that the state that Sega is in right now overall as a company, they would most likely take a check from Nintendo to continue to add add in new Sega Genesis games. So I am in the camp that I think that we will see a lot of Genesis titles come over that are a good value and that are probably even missing from that 50 game collection pack. But to start off our collection, the day one launch Genesis titles that we can expect are the following: Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hard Corps, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes, Musha, Phantasy Star 4, Ristar, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Sonic 2, Streets of Rage 2, and Strider. So whenever we get the official announcement around pricing, keep all those titles in mind, and keep in mind, you know, how nostalgic are some of those for you? Is it going to be worth a bigger price jump? Because there is some speculation and discussion happening online around maybe this is a bigger price tier increase than we are maybe mentally prepared for, as right now, if you do the $20 a year subscription, you're essentially paying $2 a month for Nintendo Switch Online service. And now that Nintendo's adding in the N64 library of games alongside of Sega Genesis, they may up this to something like a $50 annual year per subscription, which then effectively doubles the price and breaks down to like $416 or so a month. So, you know, that's definitely going to be a big pricing hike, but you could also see Nintendo support this expansion pack in more of a monthly model, where as opposed to having the whole annual subscription, they may want you to pay month by month a little bit more, such as a $4.99 or $5.99 a month, and they may go to that pricing model as well, as that's what you see a lot of subscription services do, such as Xbox Game Pass and a lot of other ones out there, even just, you know, your traditional Netflix and Hulu and things like that. So do they continue the annual pricing mix, or do they go to something more like a monthly mix? I personally would expect them to keep the annual pricing and add a discount, so that way they know they have you for the whole year, and then they probably make the monthly pricing quite a bit more expensive to make it more enticing to sign up for multiple months or an entire year all at once. So, I mean, Nintendo is kind of traditional when it comes to their model on what they do with online services. So I do think that that's a pretty safe bet. I will be surprised if we come out with something like only monthly pricing and it's $6.99 a month. But that's really where I want to pose the question to you guys in today's video is, what are your thoughts and expectations around when we're going to see this announced from Nintendo and how much they might charge for it? And then the big bonus question that I want to hear from you on is, how much are you personally willing to pay? Like, what will you go up to for your monthly expense as far as your total investment to play games like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, F-Zero X, and, you know, all the Genesis classics and the other N64 classics? So at this point in the video, guys, I really want to hear all your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about today. Let me know if you're picking up those controllers, and let me know if you are planning on signing up for Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass and how much you're willing to pay before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.